Okay, so we're going to talk about the next steps in the financial aid process and other questions you may have. So we are located on the second floor of the Student Services Center in Lee Hall, the financial aid office, as well as student accounts, and the registrar are also on that floor as well. This is our email address, our website, and our mainline phone number. At this time, we are still primarily teleworking, so email is the best way to reach us. So next steps in the financial aid process. Where are you now? So all of you could be in a different spot, and we'll go over various stages throughout this presentation. We're going to talk about UMW scholarships, student employment, accessing the financial aid portal, payment methods, e-bills, and Eagle Pay. So areas of responsibility. This gives a quick breakdown of what the differences in our offices are. So the Office of Financial Aid, we receive the information from admissions, we receive the FAFSA information, and then we award and process federal, state, and institutional financial aid. We manage the UMW Foundation scholarships, so our scholarship application, and we also administer student employment out of the financial aid office. The Office of Student Accounts, who we work very closely with, they're going to handle billing, payment plans. If you have any 529 plans or third-party payers, they handle that. And the other big question that we get is veterans benefits. And those are handled through the registrar's office. So a big one to get started as you transition from high school to college, information access. So when you enter college, your educational rights are basically set up so that we don't provide any information to anyone unless you allow us to. So we have two options at our school on how to delegate that access, what information we can provide to students and parents or grandparents or uncles or whoever is helping cover your costs. So the authorized payer, it authorized the student account staff to discuss the student bill with third party access to our Eagle Pay, which is how you can make a payment, receive email reminders about the bills, make payments, and sign up through Eagle Pay. So at a minimum, you can have 5 people who receive the bill at the same time. Delegated access is for the financial aid office, and that allows our office to discuss with your financial aid information beyond just the student. So parent, grandmother, grandfather, it allows us to handle those questions. So if you called in right now, technically, we can only provide general information unless you allow us to speak on behalf of these issues. So it can be a challenge when they say, well, what is the actual bill amount? Well, if we don't have the permission, then we can't provide all that necessary information. We can only speak in generalities. So these are 2 things that you want to be able to set up right away once you've deposited and gotten that taken care of. So we discuss with third parties as well, and you sign up through the Banner portal for both of these. Doesn't take very long at all. So financial aid timeline, where are we now? So obviously we're past February. That's our priority deadline to complete the FAFSA to guarantee as much funds as possible. That doesn't mean that you can't still complete the FAFSA if you haven't already. What it means generally is we have to set a priority deadline because we don't have unlimited state funding. And so if we run out of state funding, we award it by those who complete it by the priority deadline. Another example is the Pell Grant. It doesn't matter when you file the FAFSA, you automatically get the Pell Grant if you're eligible. However, we also have the Supplemental Educational Opportunity Grant, or SEOG, that students who file earlier are more likely to get it because it's a limited fund. And as an example, those who are Pell eligible who are eligible for SEOG, we award about 4 million in Pell Grants a year. We only receive about 130,000 from the government for SEOG each year. So as you can see, those funds go very quickly. However, not to worry, if you are eligible for SEOG, we replace that with other institutional need-based funds if you were eligible and you met that priority deadline of February 1st. So, as I said, you can still file the FAFSA. You go to studentaid.gov to complete that. Once you've filed the FAFSA and we've received that information, you've been admitted, all of that, we then package you and send that information out. We're also now uploading that to your admissions portal so you can see that through Slate because we've had some challenges with the post office depending on where you are. You know, around our area it hasn't been too bad, but we have received notifications that it's taken over a month to receive award letters in certain parts of the country. So depending on where you are, we've tried to alleviate that challenge and we are providing that online now. We are just in the process. If you decided not to fill out the FAFSA or you don't plan on filling out the FAFSA, we'll be sending out those award letters this week or next week. We're in the process of running all those. If you receive just a award letter that only has, say, a merit scholarship, and you did complete the FAFSA, it could be that there is just an issue where we haven't received it yet. And you might want to reach out to our office so we can sort of verify that we have that information on file to award you. Sometimes there's issues where we don't get the data from FAFSA. And so, or sometimes there's can be an issue where there's a number that's off by 1 digit with your social that can mess up us receiving the FAFSA. So that happens sometimes. So not to worry, just reach out to us and we can resolve that. The next big deadline is the verification. So if you filed the FAFSA and you were selected for verification, we have a July 1 deadline, and that's so that we can process it in time so that you can know what you actually owe when they send out the bills. We'll need your copies of your 29 tax information. If you didn't use the IRS data retrieval tool in the FAFSA, we may receive a tax return transcript. And depending on what you list, we may need some other information. So we generally ask for W-2s from the parents. And if we need anything else after reviewing your information, we'll request that at that time. Then as we move along in the cycle, direct subsidized and unsubsidized loans, once you have an idea what you're going to accept, you can log into the Barronett portal and accept and decline those. A payment plan strategy, initiate Parent Plus loans and private loans, and then provide electronic consent to receive emails, because that's our primary way of communicating with you. So this is a look at the financial aid portal when you log in. So this is an example that we basically tried to give all the requirements out there so you can get an idea what it looks like. So when you log in and in the financial aid portal, at the top, you'll see home, award offer, financial aid history, resources, notifications, satisfactory academic progress. And so here you're seeing a list of satisfied requirements. So if we have something that we need from you, it's going to show up in red, and I'll show that screen in a little bit. But so as I just talked about, the consent for electronic communication, that will be a question that pops up that you answer. And once you've completed answering that question, it's either yes or no. You'll see that that's completed with a green at the top there. The master promissory note's another big one. If you're going to accept a direct student loan, that will need to be completed. And as you can see, it's also completed and signed here. So if there's anything that we need from you, it'll be outstanding here on this portal. So this is under the award offer. So if you don't have your award letter in front of you and you need to go check what it is and you're not in the admissions portal, you can come out to your financial aid portal and see all the information. So it has more than what you might need. So we always project all our students as full-time, so you're going to see full-time there. Housing status can change. So for example, this student is showing they were going to live with their parents, and their expected family contribution, that's the EFC number from the FAFSA. In this example, it was 0. And then we have the cost of attendance. So we've inflated this so we can put numerous awards out there. Depending on how you determine your housing status, the non-billable items might be different. So if you are living on campus, housing and meal plans would not fall under the non-billable items because we would actually be billing those to you. So this is a continuation of that screen. And so we provide numerous potential costs as well. So traditionally we say that roughly 4,000 of the EFC, or I mean the cost of attendance, is potential costs. So transportation, personal expenses, miscellaneous, and books. So generally about 4,000, as I said, is roughly potential costs. You may incur those costs, you may not. As an example, if you're a science major, say biology, you might end up spending more on books than someone who is not a science major, because some of those books are a little bit more expensive and so forth. So that's one area where it could fluctuate. This is also where if you're going to buy a laptop for this upcoming year, we sort of give you a cushion if you need to borrow to help cover those costs. That's all in here. So those are not potential, those are potential costs that you may have, but not necessarily realized. And then as you go down, you're going to get into your actual awards. So in this example, there's grants and scholarships. So generally those are automatically accepted on your behalf. You don't have to accept them. The reason for that is most people do not decline free money that they don't have to pay back. So we do that on your behalf. And so there's some examples of the Pell Grant here and others. And so what we do in this screen is we show your cost of attendance minus your grants and scholarships and give you sort of a net cost, what that would look like. And as I said, we inflated this cost of attendance just so we could put a lot of aid out here just to give you good examples. And so the next section is options to pay net costs. So one of those is an example is federal work study. So on the FAFSA, one of the questions is, do I want to be eligible for work study? If you answered yes to that question, we may have awarded you some federal work study. In order to apply for jobs, you go through our careers website, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. And then there's loans. And so as you can see here, we've got a couple loans out here that are accepted, and then there's one that hasn't been accepted. So you can technically not take any action on a loan and accept what you want. You can accept the full amount. You can accept a partial amount of the loan. And we always tell students to accept the subsidized loans first. So that's another example. And so getting back to the next things that we were talking about, verification. So if you're selected for verification, you're going to complete the necessary dependent or independent verification form. This is found on our forms webpage, so you can go directly to the financial aid website at UMW, go to financial aid, and then click on our big forms button. As I said before, additional items that may be needed are the parent and student 2019 tax transcript or IRS data retrieval tool, 2019 wages, 1099s. If you are self-employed and you have a Schedule C, we may need the Schedule C. If you are a parent and you did not work and did not file taxes, we may request a non-filing statement. Students that did not work and did not earn any money, we are not required to collect a non-filing statement. It's understood that because they're a dependent that they're not working, and so we don't request that generally. If you're an independent student, we would. So those are some of the examples of what we would need. And on that note of verification, you work with Alicia, Jessica, and Tessa, who's not on here tonight, to provide that information. And they'll be communicating with you with any information, if you're turning in piecemeal, they'll reach out if there's anything missing, or we need any additional information once you've submitted those documents. So here is going into when we need additional information. So on the FAFSA, if you needed to provide proof of citizenship, so this would be outstanding, as well as someone who accepted their loan. They have a direct entrance counseling that they need to complete. So you can see that these things are out there. And if with an entrance counseling, if you click the little down arrow, it actually provides the instructions. That's what I've done with the citizenship one. I've clicked the little caret on the right-hand side, and it tells you exactly what we need and what you need to provide to our office so that we can move forward with processing your financial aid. If there's links available, they'll also be attached to that. Just depends on what item we're trying to do. So UMW scholarships. UMW had endowment, foundation, and departmental scholarships. Once you've deposited and you have a banner login, you can go in and start applying for scholarships. The deadline to complete the scholarship application is May 15th. It's already open right now. Generally speaking, you're not going to really be eligible for a lot of the departmental scholarships. Those generally do go to the upper class students, because a lot of students come in, they're not declared, or they haven't had any major classes. So a lot of the departmental ones are tailored toward those returning students, but we also have plenty of scholarships for new students and incoming freshmen and incoming transfer students. We have roughly over 500 scholarships that we award, and many of those have multiple recipients. So they're based on a variety of criteria based on donor wishes. And so some are merit only based, some are need based. And so you would need to complete the FAFSA to be considered. And then some of them are renewable for up to 4 years. And they usually require some GPA component that you have to maintain, whether it be a 2.0, a 3.0, or a 3.5. Each donor requirement can be specific based on the scholarship and the amount that you receive. And so you definitely want to take advantage of that. We have a lot of students that come to us throughout the year asking for help or additional aid. And this is the first thing we checked, is to see if you completed this, to see if there's any scholarships that we may not have awarded that we've saved to help provide to students. So other UMW scholarships, there's the admissions merit scholarship. So that is based on the admission to UMW. So when you submit your scores, if you decided to go through scores, they'll look at your scores in your high school GPA. Or if you decided to do test optional, they would only look at your high school GPA based on the curriculum at the high school. And so once that decision is awarded, they send that information to us. We've provided it to you in your financial aid award. And there are yearly requirements for renewal that you have to maintain. Depending on how you applied, if you applied to live on campus for the first year, a lot of times there is a housing requirement to continue receiving that scholarship all 4 years. So you'd want to make sure you read the requirements in depth. That requires full-time, generally speaking. And there is some GPA requirements each year. It gets a little bit more strenuous as you progress along in your academic career. The UMW General Scholarship, this just means if you do receive a UMW General Scholarship, it could technically be replaced by foundation scholarships if we find a named scholarship and you match that criteria. Doesn't always happen, but we like to just let you know that it could happen. So moving on to loans. So accepting federal loans, federal direct loans are in the student's name. They do not require credit worthiness. All you have to do is complete the FAFSA and be eligible for the FAFSA. The maximum amounts available for the freshmen are $5,500. which 3,500 can be subsidized and 2,000 would be unsubsidized. For sophomore year, that's 4,500 and 2,000 would be unsubsidized. And junior and senior year, a maximum amount could be 5,500 subsidized and 2,000 unsubsidized. So in order to receive the subsidized portion, you have to have demonstrated need. And so that's that cost of attendance minus your ESC. So if we say the on-campus cost of attendance is 30,000 and your ESC is 5,000, we take the cost of attendance of 30 minus 5, you have $25,000 of demonstrated need. And then we minus any financial aid that we may have given you in terms of scholarships and grants. That's how we make a determination if you're eligible for subsidized or unsubsidized loans. Additionally, if a parent was to apply for a Parent Plus loan and they're denied, dependent student is eligible for basically the independent amounts, which is an additional 4,000 sophomore and junior year, freshman and sophomore year, and then 5,000 junior and senior year. And the reason we put all of this information out there is there are so many students that are coming in with credits from high school. They took early college credits. And so while you may be a first year student, you may be starting out as a junior. And so that's good information to have. And these are all accepted through the UMW Banner portal. And if you accept these, you'll be required to complete a entrance counseling and a master promissory note. Technically, you're going to have to complete the annual student loan acknowledgement every year. However, that was a new regulation that was introduced last year. They suspended it for last year. They've suspended it for this year. So if you've already completed it, great. If not, you don't need to do it for this year, but you will have to do it in subsequent years if you decide to take loans each year. So private scholarships. There's community organizations, corporations, high schools, parents, employers. I usually like to highlight that one. A lot of us, when we're going to apply for a job, we think about healthcare, we think about retirement, time off. We don't think of potential options they have for our students when they go to college. So you just might want to take a look into what's available. The scholarship is not added to the student's account until the actual check is received by the university. So we actually put it out on our resource screen. So if we have that information, we know it's coming in, or the granting organization sends us a letter with that information, we'll put it on your financial aid award. But until we actually receive the check, it doesn't actually get posted to the student's account. So we always ask that the donor include your student ID number and name when sending the scholarship to our offices. Reason being, we've had on occasion where two people have the same exact first, middle, and last name, and there's been a mix-up. And so it just resolves any potential issues if we have all that information. Student employment. So not counting this year, because we have not had this many students have jobs on campus because of the COVID issue. But generally speaking, as we try to get back to normal, we usually have approximately 700 on-campus jobs for students. You apply through the UMW careers. It starts at minimum wage. Right now, that's $7.25 in Virginia. It will be going up in May of this year, and then it's going up progressively the next couple of years. I don't have the exact numbers, but there'll be some changes on what those are based on the state regulations. Generally, for first-year students, 10 hours a week is a good budgeted time frame for them to get acclimated to their schedules, the workload, and then have a job that can provide them some basic necessities in a paycheck. Generally, if you stay in the same job all 4 years, you're working 15 hours, maybe a few more than that, depending on the department. So a lot of the jobs are available in student services, the library, the bookstore, athletics, science lab aides. Our office specifically usually has anywhere from 3 to 7 student workers that help us throughout the year. answer your questions through email, answer the phones, and so forth. And so, our first year students are doing sort of the basics, but our juniors, and seniors are answering a lot of the detailed questions that you may have as they've been trained over the course. And it's great work experience for students as they look to put something on their resume and they're applying for a job after graduation. And we also encourage students to reach out directly to a desired employer. So like I said, I mentioned biology earlier in the session. If you're a biology major, and maybe you ask the biology department if they have any jobs available. So sometimes reaching out directly, you'll also find out that information before they post it on the website. E-bill notifications. So in July, usually mid-July, is when they send the first e-bill. So emails are sent to the student and any authorized payer that they have set up. As I stated earlier, for student accounts, if you set up authorized payer, you can set up to 5 parents or guardians as an authorized payer in order to receive an email. Like I said, that could be parent, guardian, uncle, brother, sister, depending on whoever's helping you pay your education. So fall e-bills go out mid-July, spring e-bills go out mid-November, and summer e-bills go out mid-April. So payment methods. We accept the Virginia Cost Savings Plan, the VPEP plan, VEST. We also handle out-of-state savings plans. Now you'll want to contact the student accounts office if you have one of these plans. And you'll also want to reach out to your 529 provider to see what steps you need to take now to make sure that they can get the information in a timely manner. Sometimes it's fairly quick. Some of them can take a decent amount of time. And as we're all dealing with remote work right now, a lot of us, you may want to just make sure you take enough time to make sure that you have that in place, ready to go, so that the information can be in place for when the bills are due. Post 9/11 and other veterans benefits, and then direct payments through the Eagle Pay portal. So payment plans, our payment plans are available through the Nelnet Campus Commerce. That's who Student Accounts is contracted with. So fall plans open in late May. So you will not have your bill yet, but you will have a general idea based on the cost of attendance we've provided, where we provide an estimate for on-campus housing. And that can differentiate a little bit depending on if you decided you wanted a single versus a double or a triple. But we base it on basically a standard double on campus and then the maximum meal plan. And so we base it on that information and a student who's full-time. So using that, you can have an estimate and you can start making estimated payments. And then I believe in October, if you're on that estimated plan, it will actually automatically update. So if you were overpaying the payment plan, say by $50 each month, it will auto correct and lower the last 2 payments within that cycle. The cost to participate is $40 and $60, and that's based on the date of the enrollment. So I believe if you enroll in the May, June, or July, it's the $40. If you enroll in August and afterwards, then they charge you a higher fee. It's automatically deducted the 5th of each month. And if for whatever reason, say it said your payment was going to be $1,000 a month, and you receive a scholarship of $1,000, so it automatically reduces your payment. If for whatever reason you under budgeted by a few dollars or whatever the amount is, they will actually notify you. I believe it's at least 10 days out, the amount they're going to take if it's higher, so that you can plan ahead or contact them if there's going to be an issue. But if it's reduced, they automatically take the reduced amount. So other options are the Parent Plus loan. You apply at studentaid.gov. It's in the parent's name. It's a fixed rate that's repayable over 10 years, and you can defer it until after the student graduates. So those rates are not set for next year. They set those on July 1. And so we don't know what they'll be currently, but right now they're a little over 5%. So it's a fixed rate at 5%, which is very good based on this rate environment. The Fed is keeping rates at 0%, so I don't expect it to go up much. But like I said, we won't know until that July 1st timeframe when they've notified us what they'll be. In addition to that, there are alternative loans. So based on the 0% interest rates, the Parent Plus loan has been very competitive. Depending on the year, it may not have been as competitive. So we use Elm to process our alternative loans. And so you can actually go out to elmselect.com. You'll select the University of Mary Washington, and then you can do a comparison of different lenders that are available. The lenders on there are the ones that we primarily process the most of. However, you can choose any lender of your choosing. So if you had a local credit union that you want to use, you can go right ahead and use them. We will work with them. A lot of times they get certified anyway through one big lender that we use regularly. So we're used to seeing them, even though it's coming through a specific credit union. And so there's a little bit difference with these where you can actually get fixed or adjustable rates. So you can find out which is the best option based on your family circumstance. And I've seen rates anywhere in the adjustable, which was like 2.3 all the way up to 11% on some of the fixed. And these are credit based. So that does have an impact. But as someone who borrowed from an alternative lender a couple of years ago, I applied for two lenders. One lender quoted me 9%, the other quoted me 5.6%. So obviously you can tell you want to apply to multiple lenders to see what the best option is for you. Just make sure you do it all within that short time frame so it doesn't negatively impact your credit score. And then you also want to check out the borrower benefits because they also can have a big impact. As an example, I know Discover usually has a good grade benefit. So you have to turn in your grades to show that you did well, but they'll cut off a percent. Some of them have options where they will, once you graduate, they'll forgive a small portion of the balance. Those are some examples. If it's in the student name, more than likely, you're going to have to need a credit-worthy cosigner. So that is generally the parents, but it could be grandparents, so forth. And so when you cosign a loan, it's good to note that depending on the lender, there are periods in which if the student has made on-time payments after graduation, that you could be removed as a cosigner. So that depends on the lender. Typically, it's anywhere from 12 months to 48 months. So you'd want to also look at that. Those are the big things that I tell families and students to take a look at. So refunds, we also get this question. What is a refund? If you do not set up direct deposit, which we really recommend because it speeds the timeliness of getting everything into your hands, the check is mailed to the post office and you would have to go there and show your ID to receive that check. Once again, like I said, we really recommend signing up for direct deposit. And if you get a job on campus, we'll require that you sign up for direct deposit. That's mandatory. So we recommend that. And so with refunds, if you see a negative balance or a negative number on your student account, that means that we've basically overpaid your account and now there's a credit. And once that's sitting out there, once you see student accounts process and it says refund out there, it's usually in your account within 3 to 5 business days. If you do direct deposit, it could take a little bit longer for them to print the checks. So that's what that means. And so a lot of students may borrow a little bit extra to, as I said, purchase a laptop, or they might use it to purchase books. So we do work with Barnes & Noble. So the Barnes & Noble on campus is the UMW bookstore. So some students will use that to go and purchase books up there, but you're not required to purchase books there. You can use a refund to buy on Amazon or Chegg or whatever works best for you. So getting ready to soar, obviously, once again, our offices are on Lee Hall on the second floor. Our hours are 8 to 5. We are primarily teleworking, so we recommend reaching out via email. If you did want to schedule to see us in person, we are in the office. We have one person who's in the office. So if you wanted to see your counselor, the only way we meet with you is through the window up front. And so we do have limited hours. We're closed from 12 to 1 right now. And we shut the windows that we meet with students up front at 4:30. But we are open 8 to 5 and ready in here to answer your questions. Oops. So I will let the Jessica and Alicia answer any questions. So feel free to raise your hand and ask any questions you might have.
Hi, Tim.
Yes.
Hi, my name is David Hammer. I had a question about, on the second page was the additional fee information for, and it showed the auxiliary fee breakdown. And I was curious to know if all students pay all of those fees, or does it depend on your specific situation? For instance, my daughter probably will not engage in any intercollegiate athletics.
Yeah, so the auxiliary fee covered, there's a breakdown under the student accounts page because that really falls under them. But basically, there's the tuition and then the auxiliary fee. Auxiliary fee helps cover all the building costs, the student fee to use the athletic facilities. And there's a better breakdown there, but that gives you sort of an idea. It covers organization, the student organization. So it covers a multitude of things within that actual fee. And all students do pay that.
Okay, thank you.
The only time it's different is if you are a part-time student, and then the rate is prorated based on the number of credits you're in.
Great, thanks.
You're welcome.
Y'all want to answer the questions that are in the chat live, guys? I'm not sure if you've seen the more recent ones.
Alicia and Jessica, are there any questions we haven't answered?
So let's see, if there is an adjustment to the FAFSA that has already been processed, who do I contact to have it fixed? So you could just reach out to our office and we can take a look at that. finaid@umw.edu.
In general, just so you know, we do receive any correction to the FAFSA that you submitted. So that goes to our office. And then we receive that, and then we get a list of students each time we pull in the FAFSAs, and we go through and we look at the changes.
And then we've got, if I win a scholarship, do you reduce my financial aid package? If so, does the scholarship replace loans or grants?
I would answer that that's yes and no. So it depends. So if you get a scholarship through our office, it may replace the UMW General, but it does not always replace the UMW General Scholarship if you were awarded. Additionally, if you get an outside scholarship, we will not change any of your aid unless we are required to. And what does that mean? So if we award you need-based funding and you no longer have need as a result of, say, an outside scholarships. As an example, we had a student that received a scholarship of $15,000, and so that got rid of some of the need that they had. We're required to potentially change loans. So if you no longer have need, we may have to change your subsidized loan to an unsubsidized loan. So typically what would happen in that scenario, if you accepted the unsubsidized loan, we would automatically reallocate that all to unsubsidized. If you did not accept the unsubsidized loan, we would just leave it out in an offered status for you to go out and accept if you wanted to accept the unsubsidized loan. And then if you're over need and it's affecting some of your grants, we are required to reduce them so that you're no longer over need. So that's generally the only time we do adjust the accounts is when we're required to. Otherwise, if you get outside scholarships and so forth, we're not going to make any adjustments unless we need to.
Okay, we have another question. Can you specify how to access the Banner portal and be able to view the financial information for the student? Is it through Banner self-service? So yes, it is through Banner self-service. And Eldar, I'm going to email you directly the information to be able to access the Banner portal.
But basically, you click on the banner, the self-service, and then I believe the next is there's a financial aid link, and that would bring you into the portal for the student. But Alicia will send you the information. Sure. The difference between subsidized and unsubsidized loans. So a subsidized loan accrues interest while the student, it does not accrue interest while the student is in school. So it's the better of the two loans. An unsubsidized loan does accrue interest while a student is enrolled. They are both deferred until after the student graduates. And so 6 months after graduation or a student drops below half-time enrollment, they go into repayment. Typically, students graduate in May, and the first payment is due once they graduate, roughly end of November, December, depending on how quickly the servicer contacts you. The rates are the same for both those loans, so there's no difference in interest rate. But that's essentially the big difference. I see a few more people are asking about this. So I'm going to just post in the chat sort of a quick little blurb that I always send. So I've posted that at the bottom. That's sort of the quick little instructions. But those instructions are also on the award letter. So it's on the last page of the award letter that your student should have received. And if your award letter is in Slate, you can also click back online and see that information if you also wanted to get access to it.
So then we've got one, it says, can you give any more information on the Parent Plus loan through studentaid.gov versus private lending, example of Sally Mae?
Yeah, so like I said, the difference between a Parent Plus loan is it's a fixed rate. Those rates are set each year. Right now, it's a little over 5%. It's a 10-year repayment, and you can defer that until after the student graduates. So if you're paying for 4 years with a Parent Plus loan, you start making payments after the student graduates on that. But you do make interest payments. Private loans have a lot more flexibility in terms of the rate, whether you're going to go fixed, whether you're going to go adjustable rate. Additionally, within that, the payment schedules can be a lot different. You can see anything from 5 to 25 years. So 5, 7, 10, 12, 15, and that depends also on the lender. There are many more than Sally Mae. As an example, I think the top ones that we see are Discover, drawing a blank on the other, Citizens Bank,
Wells
think they-
Fargo, maybe.
Wells Fargo, I believe, stopped as of this semester. And
Credit union.
anyway, there's lots of options out there. So there's flexible payment rates. I mentioned the borrower benefits can be different depending on the lender. So you want to take a look at those. So I can tell you, as an example, I think Sallie Mae has the best cosigner release, which is usually 12 months. And I believe last time I asked, roughly 53% are released when they request it. They do require that the student has a job and can basically make the payments on their own, not that you've just been making it for them. So they will review that information at the time, but you have to manually request it. So those are sort of some of the big differences between a Parent Plus loan versus an alternative.
We've got, do students have to accept enrollment and make a deposit to get a net ID and password?
Yes, they do. So as soon as you deposit, they'll begin sending that information. That's also why our scholarship application is open until May 15th, so that it used to be May 1 is decision day, and we're still primarily working towards that, so that you can deposit by May 1, and then you'd have 2 weeks to complete the scholarship application. Well, if there are no other questions, thank you for coming out tonight and participating. And if you do have more questions and you want to reach out to us offline, just email us at finaid@umw.edu and we will get back to you as soon as possible.